It was just another cold, lonely Thursday night in New York City. I'd been working late again, fixing up cars in some dingy garage when hunger hit me like a freight train. The thought of greasy fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and a cold soda was all I could think about. Hell, it was comfort food, something I could count on after a shit day. I pulled up to the KFC on Broadway, a place I'd been to dozens of times. The neon sign buzzed above, flickering every few seconds, casting a sickly yellow light. But I didn't care. I was starving. As soon as I stepped inside, that familiar scent of fried chicken hit me like a punch to the gut. I ordered my usual, extra crispy chicken with mashed potatoes. Simple, quick, no fuss. But something was off tonight. As I waited for my order, I noticed her. An old woman, hunched over like a damn skeleton, standing at the counter. Her face was almost buried in layers of dirty shawls, and her wild gray hair stuck out in every direction. Her eyes were wide open, unblinking, staring at nothing but the wall. She looked like she hadn't seen daylight in years, and she was staring right at me. I felt a chill run down my spine. "Don't eat it, boy," she croaked, her voice a raspy whisper that made my skin crawl. "You don't know what's in that food. You're better off starving." I scoffed, thinking she was just some crazy lady off her meds. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that she wasn't just talking about the food. I tried to ignore her, but then I saw her shuffle toward a young woman at the counter, a pregnant woman, barely in her 20s. She was rubbing her stomach nervously, her face pale, eyes darting around like she was looking for a way out. The old woman stepped up to her, leaning in close, her breath foul and rotten. "You shouldn't be here, girl," she whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You don't belong with them. You can't trust what's in that kitchen." The pregnant woman froze, her eyes wide with panic. She looked at the cashier, who was too busy texting to even care. "Excuse me?" the young woman stammered. I just want my food. I need to go home." But the old woman didn't let up. She pointed a bony finger toward the kitchen and said, "You think they care about you? Number they're feeding you poison. You'll never leave." A lump formed in my throat. Something about the woman's words felt too real. My stomach churned, but I was too tired to dwell on it. My food came, and I left as fast as I could, thinking I'd heard too much nonsense. Back at my place, I cracked open a beer and threw the fried chicken on the table. I was starving, but my mind kept drifting back to the weird old woman and her warnings. I shrugged it off, tearing into the crispy skin of the chicken. The first bite was perfect. Warm, crunchy, just the way I liked it. But as I chewed, something didn't taste right. I felt a sharp metallic tang in my mouth, like blood. I spat it out, gagging. I pulled the chicken apart, and that's when I saw it. Hidden inside the meat was a bone, smooth and thin, not like anything I'd ever seen before. It didn't belong there. "What the hell is this?" I muttered, dropping the chicken on the plate. My stomach twisted, and a wave of nausea hit me. This wasn't just a mistake. This was deliberate. I grabbed the piece and threw on my jacket. I wasn't going to let this go. I marched back to the KFC, barely feeling the cold as I stepped back inside. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting an eerie glow over the place. The old woman was still there, standing in the corner, watching me like a hawk. And the pregnant woman, she was sitting at one of the tables now, her face pale and terrified. I walked up to the counter, holding up the piece of chicken with the strange bone inside. "Listen," I said, my voice low and hard. "Something's wrong with this food. There's something in it. You need to tell me what the hell it is." The cashier looked at me like I was crazy, shrugging. "It's just chicken, man. You don't like it, don't eat it." I slammed the piece down on the counter. "That's not chicken. Look at it. What the hell are you serving here?" The manager, a big guy with a scruffy beard, came over, his eyes darting nervously from the chicken to the old woman. "Just calm down, all right? You got what you ordered." "Don't lie to me," I snapped. "There's something wrong with this place, and what's up with that lady?" I pointed to the old woman, who was staring at us like she could see right through us. The manager gulped, his face going pale. "Look, man, you don't want to know what's really going on here. Just take your food and go. You're not going to like what you find." "What are you talking about?" I demanded. But before he could respond, the pregnant woman stood up, visibly shaken. "What's in the food?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Tell me what's really going on here. I need to know." The old woman cackled, her voice cracking. "They want to control you, girl, all of you. No one gets out, no one leaves." The pregnant woman stepped back, her face white as a ghost. No, I don't believe this. This is insane." The manager looked down at the floor, clearly afraid. Just leave. Go home. Forget this ever happened." But it was too late. I could feel it. Something was wrong, way wrong. This wasn't just about bad food or a crazy old woman. I turned to the pregnant woman, my voice shaky now. "You don't want to eat that food, trust me. Something's in it, and it's not chicken." Before she could respond, the old woman grabbed her by the arm, her grip like iron. "You're already part of it, girl," she hissed. "They'll come for you next." I couldn't take it anymore. I ran out of that place, but it didn't feel like I was leaving it behind. The whole damn world felt like it was closing in on me. The next day, I started digging. I searched forums, blogs, anything I could find. And what I found made my blood run cold. There were stories about people who had eaten at KFC, not just in New York, but all over. Strange things in the food. Unexplainable accidents. People claiming to see the old woman at every location. Warnings from people who had disappeared. That's when I found the post that chilled me to the bone. "They say the chicken's been changed. It's not what you think. Something else. It's been like this for years." I didn't know what I had uncovered, but I knew one thing. This wasn't just about bad food. There was something far darker going on at that KFC. And if I didn't figure it out soon, I might end up just like the rest of them. It was a Thursday night and everything felt off. I could sense it the moment I walked into the KFC. The fluorescent lights above hummed, the fryer sizzled, and the usual bustle of customers filled the air. But there was a heaviness in the atmosphere that I couldn't shake. I'm Sam, the manager of this KFC. It's a small, barely surviving place on the edge of town. You could call it a rundown establishment, one of those fast food joints that people pass by without a second thought. My employees were all decent, but none of them seemed to care. The only thing that mattered to them was punching out at the end of their shift. Then she came in. Her name was Lena. Beautiful. Too beautiful to be sitting alone in a fast food restaurant every night. At first, I thought she was just another lonely soul looking for a cheap meal. But the way she sat there, every single night, always alone, always with a bucket of chicken and extra gravy, no sides, no drinks, struck me as strange. It wasn't just the way she ordered. It was her. There was something in her eyes, something that made my skin crawl. I tried to keep my distance, but it wasn't easy. Every time I passed her table, I felt like she was watching me, like she was waiting for something. Days turned into weeks, and Lena kept coming back, always the same routine. At first, I thought it was just coincidence, but one evening, I found myself watching her more intently. Her beauty wasn't just physical. It was as if she had some otherworldly aura about her, something I couldn't put into words. I tried speaking to her once. "Can I get you anything else?" I asked, my voice too forced. She didn't look up immediately. When she did, her eyes met mine, and I swear, it felt like she was seeing right through me. "Just the gravy," she said, her voice smooth, almost too calm. But when I walked away, something about her gaze stuck with me. It was like she was expecting something. Or maybe I was expecting something from her. There was a strange tension every time I passed her, like we both knew there was something more between us, even if we didn't speak it. It was then that the strange things started happening. Small things at first, items in the kitchen going missing, a strange smell wafting through the air, even though we hadn't cooked anything that could produce such a foul stench. But the worst part? The way the food started to taste. It wasn't the normal KFC taste anymore. The chicken was greasier, the gravy thicker, and the smell, God, The smell. It lingered long after the meal was gone. It wasn't until that one night that everything started making sense. The night Lena disappeared. I was closing up after a particularly hectic shift. Tony had already left and Maria was mopping the floors in the back. As I was cleaning up the counter, I noticed something unusual. Lena's table, where she always sat, was empty. Her bucket of chicken was untouched, the gravy still warm, the extra portions of sides left behind. I should have ignored it, but curiosity gnawed at me. I walked over to her table, my footsteps slow. As soon as I touched the bucket, a chill ran through me. The gravy inside had thickened beyond normal proportions, almost like it had congealed in an unnatural way. Suddenly I heard it, a whisper, not from the kitchen but from behind me. "You shouldn't have opened it." I spun around. Lena was standing at the door, her eyes darker than ever, her lips twisted into a smile that sent a wave of cold terror down my spine. She wasn't just standing there, she was waiting. I couldn't breathe. "What do you mean?" I asked, my voice trembling. "The recipe," she said, her voice cold as ice, "isn't meant to be tampered with." That's when I felt it. An overwhelming sense of dread, as if something had clicked into place, something that had been building up since the moment I first laid eyes on her. Lena wasn't a regular customer. She wasn't even alive. Not in the way we understood life. I couldn't stop myself. I had to know more. That night, I stayed after hours, my mind racing. Lena's words echoed in my head. The recipe isn't meant to be tampered with. I went into the back, where we kept the extra ingredients. There, hidden beneath stacks of old supplies, I found it. A yellowed, tattered recipe book. It wasn't the regular KFC manual. No, this was something different, something older. I flipped through the pages, my hands shaking, and I found it, the recipe for the gravy. But it wasn't like any recipe I'd ever seen before. The ingredients were off, wrong. It called for things that no one in their right mind would ever add to a sauce. Human flesh. My stomach churned as I read the instructions, detailing the preparation of the gravy, how the parts needed to be mixed in secret, away from prying eyes. And that's when the realization hit me like a ton of bricks. The original owner of this KFC, the man who had vanished under mysterious circumstances, had been using a twisted, cursed recipe. And now Lena, this thing that appeared to be a customer, had been feeding off of the souls of those who ate the food. She wasn't a woman. She was an entity, a part of the curse itself. I tried to leave. I tried to shut down the restaurant, burn the damn book, and get out before it was too late. But the doors wouldn't open. The air grew thick and the walls seemed to close in on me. Every exit I tried led me back to the same place, the kitchen. Lena appeared again, her face a mask of cold, unfeeling hunger, her eyes black as coal. "You're too late," she whispered, stepping closer. I backed away, terrified, but I couldn't escape her. She was everywhere, her presence choking the air, her voice echoing in the corners of my mind. The fryer hissed again, and I saw the gravy bubbling violently, the same disgusting fragments floating to the surface. I knew it was too late for me. The curse had claimed me just like it had claimed the others before me. And now, I would be the next ingredient. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was the face of Lena, her mouth stretching into a wicked grin as she whispered, "Welcome to the recipe, Sam." It was a typical Tuesday night, just another shift in the grind for James. He was a tech guy who worked from home, so after a long day staring at a screen, he craved nothing more than greasy, salty comfort food. KFC was his go-to. Easy, quick, no nonsense. Walking into the restaurant, he didn't notice the way the cashier eyed him, or the odd murmurs between the kitchen staff as he placed his usual order. Hell, he wasn't paying attention to anything other than the fact that he was starving. "Order number 57, the cashier called out. James grabbed his bucket, shot her a nod, and walked out, not realizing he was carrying more than just fried chicken. Back at his apartment, James plopped onto his couch, grabbed a cold beer from the fridge and cracked it open. No fanfare, no ceremony, just him and a bucket of chicken. He dug into the first piece without a second thought. It was crispy, hot, and perfect. By the second piece, he was already in that familiar zone, watching his show and munching away. But then, something wasn't right. He took a bite of the third piece and felt something sharp jab the roof of his mouth. Instinctively, he spit the bite out, cursing under his breath. What the hell? He pulled the chunk of meat out of his mouth, his stomach turning as he stared at what looked like a bone, but not a chicken bone. It was long, thin, and had a strange curve to it, like a fucking finger. What the hell is this? James muttered, his voice unsteady. He grabbed the next piece of chicken, torn between disgust and curiosity. He held it up under the light. This time the bone was even more obvious, sticking out like some grotesque reminder that whatever he was eating wasn't just food. What the actual fuck? Without even thinking, James grabbed his jacket and stormed back to the KFC. As soon as he walked in, the familiar greasy smell hit him like a punch. The cashier who'd served him earlier was still behind the counter, looking up at him with an almost bored expression. "I need to talk to your manager," James said, his voice rougher than he intended. The cashier didn't even flinch. "He's busy." "Get him now," James snapped. He wasn't in the mood to argue. A few minutes later, the manager, a big guy with a scruffy beard and a permanent scowl, came out. "What's the issue?" James threw the bucket on the counter. "This is the issue. I bit into my chicken and there's some fucked up shit inside." The manager looked at the piece of chicken, his eyes narrowing slightly. "What's the problem?" James shoved the bone in his face. "That's not a chicken bone, asshole. What the hell are you serving me?" The manager shrugged, not even fazed. "Sometimes the pieces don't come out perfect. We're human, it happens." "Bullshit." James leaned in, staring him down. "No, this is something else. You're hiding something." The manager's expression shifted for a second. Then he went back to his usual indifference. "Look, we can give you a new meal or a refund, but that's all we're doing. Take it or leave it." Back at home, James felt the unease gnawing at him. This wasn't just a mistake. He knew it. Something about the way the manager acted, the way he dismissed it all. It didn't sit right. He jumped online, starting to dig. After a few minutes of searching, he found a thread on Reddit from a couple of years ago. People had posted about weird shit happening at KFCs. Bones that weren't chicken bones, strange items in their food, even something about illegal shipments at some branches. Then, a comment caught his eye. "If you find something you shouldn't, don't ask questions. Just leave. Trust me, they're watching." The hair on the back of his neck stood up. That night, James couldn't sleep. Something about the whole situation kept playing in his mind. He needed answers. He decided to take matters into his own hands. Around midnight, he drove back to the KFC, but this time he parked a block away and kept his eyes on the restaurant. He waited. After a while, a black van pulled up behind the building. Two men in dark uniforms started unloading crates. James squinted, trying to make out what was in the back of the van. He couldn't believe what he saw. A crate was partially open, and there, amongst the frozen wings, was what looked like a severed human hand. His heart pounded. He stumbled back, his mind racing. No, this can't be real. Suddenly, the van driver turned and saw him. "What the fuck are you looking at?" he shouted. James didn't think. He ran for his car, throwing open the door and slamming it shut as he started the engine. The next day, James went straight to the police, demanding they look into the restaurant. He wasn't sure what exactly he expected, but when the officer heard his story, he just stared at him for a long moment. "Sir, are you sure you're not overreacting?" "Overreacting?" James snapped. "I saw a fucking hand in that van. That's not normal." The officer didn't seem convinced. "We'll look into it." Days passed and James heard nothing. He tried calling, but they wouldn't return his calls. It was like they were brushing him off. Then one night, as he left his apartment, he saw it. A black van parked down the street, engine running. James froze, his pulse hammering in his chest. He walked faster, trying to avoid looking too suspicious. As he passed the van, the window rolled down. The manager from KFC stared at him with a cold, almost amused expression. "You should have let it go, James," the manager said, his voice low. James's phone buzzed in his pocket. He pulled it out, and his blood ran cold when he saw the text. "We warned you." James never went back to that KFC. Hell, he didn't even want to stay in the city anymore. He moved out, changed his number, did everything he could to disappear from the nightmare. But no matter where he went, he couldn't shake the feeling. The van, the manager's smile, that goddamn text. Sometimes, late at night, he could still hear the crunch of chicken and a voice whispering in his ear, "One wing too far." It was a cold Friday evening, the kind of night where the streets of New York felt alive and raw, full of energy, but you could also feel the chill in the air. I was dead tired after a long day dealing with customers, the usual tech support nightmare. I just needed comfort, something simple to take my mind off the chaos. KFC was my go-to. I stepped into the joint on Broadway, the scent of fried chicken and mashed potatoes instantly soothing me. I stood in line, my stomach rumbling. When it was my turn, I threw out my order, a bucket of extra crispy chicken with mashed potatoes and gravy. The cashier, a girl with tired eyes, barely looked at me. She rang me up with a mechanical "thanks" as I handed over my money. She was probably used to the usual grind of the city, but something about her attitude felt off. The manager, a bulky guy with a scruffy beard, was leaning against the counter, looking like he'd been there for way too long. His eyes flickered over to me for a second before he quickly looked away. I brushed it off. Maybe he had a bad day too. Back in my apartment, I set the bucket of chicken down on the counter, grabbed a beer from the fridge and cracked it open. I dug in, and the first bite of that crispy chicken felt like heaven. Hot, perfectly fried, just what I needed. But as I went for the next piece, something felt off. It was heavier than usual. I frowned, thinking maybe it was just a fluke. I grabbed the drumstick, pulled it apart, and took a bite. The taste hit me, sharp, metallic, almost chemical. I froze, my stomach twisting. I spit the piece out into the trash. "What the hell?" I muttered to myself, pulling apart the rest of the piece. There, wedged inside the meat, was a thin, straight bone. Not a chicken bone. It was too clean, too smooth. A chill ran down my spine as I stared at it. My hands were shaking. What was that? I grabbed the next piece, telling myself I was overreacting, but deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I took a bite. This time, it was worse. A sharp shard of something poked into my mouth, something jagged. I threw it across the room, my heart racing. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to go back to that KFC. I didn't wait around. I grabbed my jacket, slamming the door behind me, and headed back to the KFC. My mind was reeling, trying to piece together what I'd found. Who would put something like that in food? It didn't make sense. When I walked into the store, I felt the tension in the air. The girl at the counter gave me a half-hearted glance but didn't say a word. I could hear the clatter of the kitchen in the back, but it all felt wrong. I stormed up to the counter and slammed the piece of bone down in front of her. "Where's your manager?" I barked. She blinked at me like she didn't care. "He's busy." "Get him now," I said, my voice low and tense. A few moments later, the manager walked over, wiping his hands on a rag. He looked at the bone, then back at me, his eyes narrowing. "You got a problem?" he asked, his tone flat like he'd seen it all before. I shoved the bone closer to him. "Yeah, I do. There's something wrong with your chicken. This isn't a chicken bone. What the hell is going on here?" He glanced at it, then casually wiped his hands again like it was no big deal. It happens. Sometimes the meat's not perfect. You want a refund or not? I could feel my blood pressure rising. No, I don't want a refund. I want to know why you've got shit in your food that shouldn't be there. That's not an accident. You think I'm dumb? He sighed, a dismissive look crossing his face. Listen, it's just a mistake. Happens all the time. You're making a big deal out of nothing. I felt a surge of anger. A big deal? You've got something in your chicken that's not supposed to be there and you're acting like it's normal? I'm not leaving until I get some answers. His eyes flickered for a second. Then he looked at the other employees in the back as if weighing something. He leaned in, lowering his voice. All right, I'll tell you. But you didn't hear it from me. We've been getting shipments that aren't exactly what they say they are. You might have eaten something you shouldn't have. That bone? Yeah, it's not chicken. What the hell are you talking about? His expression darkened. Just forget about it, man. Walk away, go home. There's nothing you can do about it. I stood there for a moment, feeling like I'd just walked into something bigger than I could handle. Then I turned and walked out, my mind spinning. Back in my car, I sat there for a long while, trying to process what had just happened. What the hell had I eaten? And why would they hide something like that in the food? I checked my phone. No one had posted anything online yet, so I decided to dig deeper. I spent hours scrolling through forums, Reddit threads, anything I could find. That's when I saw a comment buried deep in a food horror thread. KFC in New York. Don't eat there. Don't ask questions if you find something weird. It's not worth it. My stomach dropped. I kept reading. Other comments followed. I saw something once. A bone that didn't look like a chicken bone. I didn't think much of it until I heard rumors. Rumors? What rumors? I couldn't let it go. I had to know what was going on. The next night, I drove back to the KFC. This time, I didn't go in. I parked down the block, hidden in the shadows, watching. It wasn't long before a black van pulled up behind the store. Two men in dark clothes stepped out, hauling boxes into the restaurant's back entrance. I squinted, trying to see what was inside. Then, a crate dropped. It cracked open, spilling its contents onto the pavement. I gasped. What spilled out wasn't chicken. A severed hand, fingers curled like it was reaching for something, lay on the ground. I froze, my heart slamming in my chest. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be real. But before I could react, one of the men saw me. His eyes locked onto mine and his lips curled into a sneer. "You've seen too much, buddy," he growled. I turned and bolted, running to my car, my breath coming in sharp gasps. I didn't stop until I was miles away from that place. The next day I went to the police. They didn't believe me. They thought I was crazy, imagining things. But the phone calls started shortly after. The first one was late at night. The voice was distorted, barely a whisper. "Don't come back. You've seen too much. Stay away from KFC." I didn't go back. I couldn't. But every time I thought about that hand, that black van, I felt a shiver crawl down my spine. And I couldn't shake the thought, what the hell was really going on behind the kitchen doors of that KFC? I moved out of the city a few months later, but I still get those late night calls. Sometimes I wonder if it's all connected, if they're still watching me. And every time I sit down to eat, I can't help but think, what's in my food? What's the hidden ingredient?